Hi, Thomas. How are you?
I'm good. Douglas, how about yourself?
Oh, doing well, thank you. Where are you? What part of the country?
I'm in Southwest Ohio.
Southwest Ohio. Okay.
Yeah, we always say we're south of Dayton, Ohio, and north of the cornfield.
Oh, well, that's good. I've been reading through your bio. It looks like you've done an awful lot of stuff in your life. Do you
Yeah,
want to
I'm kind of the guy who never knew what he wanted to do when he grows up, you know?
do you want to just give us a quick sort of background on yourself,
Sure.
and then we'll talk about your book. I know you got a book to promote.
Sure. I did not finish college. I was majoring in English, and I went from being a construction worker to being a business writer, to being an entrepreneur, to being a small business owner. Then I ended up being involved in management of a large corporation. So I've kind of been pretty much through a lot of different aspects of life, particularly in business. But in that time, over those years, I did a lot of traveling, and I always have been interested in noticing how different areas, different regions have people in them who are the same as everybody else and different from everybody else. It's really fascinating to see that, and I always was fascinated by it. In the meantime, one of my hobbies has always been to write. I always liked to write short stories. I've been doing it for my God, for almost all my adult life. I never really published them though. I used to write short stories and send them to my sister, and she would pass them around to people. Uh, and bless her soul, she tried so hard for years to get me to publish something. And actually, she was the one who encouraged me to publish this book. And she unfortunately passed away before she got to see it. But what I was actually doing a lot of reading when I was doing so much traveling. I used to read novels all the time, just because it was my interest, and I did that, just to stay out of the hotel bars and pass the time. And one night I was reading a really bad novel, and I finished it. Thought, I could do better than this. So I started writing that night, and about a year later, I had Beyond the Higher Ground published.
You know, it's funny you say that about the inspiration for doing something being I can do better than this, because that's kind of how this show started about 5 years ago when we started the podcast, because I was going on podcast as a guest, and some of them were just awful, and that was exactly my thought. I could do better than this, and so we started it. It's very funny. I wonder how many people wrote a book or did a film or wrote a song or something based on that theory of I can do better than this.
Well, I said I was an entrepreneur for a while. The same thing happened then too. I was working on something for somebody else, and I said, "My goodness, I can do better than this," and I built a company out of it. So,
I'll bet that is an inspiration for a lot of people. Really is.
yeah,
So tell us a little about the book. The book it's a fiction, right? But it's based
it's a fiction, but based on some reality.
on the opioid crisis, right? Was
Right,
the
exactly.
theme or
Uh,
something? Okay, because
I
that's a very real crisis. But yeah, tell us about the book.
well, I was actually doing some work, construction work in Appalachia, and out of all the places in the country that I've been to. And I've pretty well been pretty much most of the states. I was always most fascinated with the Appalachian region because it's almost like a world in itself. And the people are fascinating. The country is beautiful. And I was involved in doing construction, major construction down in the area. But I was appalled at the opioid crisis and what it was doing to the population there. And in doing so, I also started to recognize, even like in the areas where I'm living right now, the rural areas of the United States are suffering terribly from the opioid crisis, but they don't have the resources to actually fight it. And so it's just basically it's like a pandemic with no help. You get into some of these rural areas, and the only way that they can try to fight the people bringing in these drugs is with a sheriff and a couple of deputies. It's a shame how it's happening. So I wanted to kind of expose that, but I wanted to do it in a sensitive fashion. So I didn't want to come in and say this is a horrible thing. These people are awful down here. So I wrote a story about a man working through his personal trials in the background and dealing with that opioid crisis, and mostly with how it's appearing and how it's being brought into the area.
Well, opium has been around for centuries. Why all of a sudden are we saying there's an opioid crisis? What is happening in this
Well,
country?
I can tell you exactly because I've done a lot of research on this. What is happening, and I hate to say it like this, but we can certainly thank the pharmaceutical companies. What really happened, particularly in the area that I write about, is people were being prescribed pills for pain or whatever it is on a regular basis, primarily because pharmaceutical companies were telling doctors, that this is not something that's addictive, and you can be okay. And it really went uncontrolled for a long time. Well, but then what happens is, people in an area like such as Southwest Virginia that I write about, where you've got as much as 20 to 24% unemployment, and people are really kind of looking for some way out, but they can't do it physically. They can always get pills. So suddenly an industry is created, and the pills were being brought in. So then people started finding more and more ways to escape. Crystal meth became very popular in rural
Yeah.
areas and still is right now. I just saw one not too far from where I live right now, where they found a 4,000 square foot barn. It was the giant crystal meth lab. So those things started to evolve, and here in big cities, we have narcotics police, we have a lot of things going on, programs and so forth. You go down here in Appalachia, and the best you can do is hope a deputy catches them, and that's not going to happen. So it really is rampant, and it's a shame. It's a heartbreak. It really is.
Well, so what happened to alcohol? Why are people turning to pills rather than
Well,
alcohol?
you find in my book, I have a prominent family who had the noble profession for 100 years of making moonshine. And really, that now is more of a novelty. Liquor is legal in most places. People still make moonshine. However, a lot of that business then went away, and there had to be another way to make a buck. Selling pills was another way to make a buck. The Corral family in my book, the remaining two brothers of the book, quit moonshining and ended up as drug dealers. That is something that I observed when I was down there, and I put it into my book. So part of that is really where the drugs are coming in. Also, it's so much easier to move a box of pills around than it is a truckload of moonshine. So
Well, that's
it's
true.
just basically an
Yeah.
evolution.
So Appalachia or Appalachia, depending on your
It's
pronunciation.
Appalachia. If you live there, it's Appalachia. If you don't, it's Appalachia. That's what I
Appalachia.
found.
Okay. Well, since I don't live there, I'll just say Appalachia. But that area is where geographically? West Virginia,
It
Kentucky.
goes
It's a few
actually from
states, right?
southern New York all the way down into Georgia. And the center of it is West Virginia. The area that I write about in my book is a little piece of Virginia where if you go 40 miles north, you're in West Virginia. If you go west, you're in Kentucky, and south, you're in Tennessee. So it's right in the center of that. It's actually the Blue Ridge region.
How much time did you spend there in that
Oh,
area?
well, I was traveling a lot in and out of there because we were building some major facilities there. So over the period of 2 years, I guess I was there almost every week.
Do you think what is your opinion? What's your takeaway of those people, aside from the problems with the opioids?
Uh, they're very genuine people. They have a work ethic. I will not say that their work ethic is like the Europeans or anything like that. They enjoy life. The problem they have right now is they're desperate people, and that comes through with anyone you talk to down there. There's not a person that you talk to that area that can't tell you somebody they knew who was either passed away or is in deep trouble with drugs. But the people themselves are fascinating. They're different from anyone else that I've met in the country. Just actually, they can tell they're great storytellers, very warm people. You're never a stranger when you're around one of those people. They're never in a hurry, even on the job site. But it's you just can't help but love them, and you just can't help be heartbroken when you see what's happening to them.
Are these the like the Beverly Hillbillies type people?
You, no, no.
No.
They do have their way of speaking, and they do have their way of thinking, but they're mostly sincere people, and they're very family oriented, and they're not the Snuffy Smith type people, or the people talking about the cement pond. They're interested in things going on. They're interested in learning. They tend to become good tradespeople. They're nothing really like that. They're fascinating in the sense that they seem to see things from a different perspective. In a lot of cases, they seem to me to be more realistic than a lot of the rest of us are.
So the Beverly Hillbillies was a real pure Hollywood creation of what they thought Appalachian people would be like, yeah?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was just a lot of fun. Yeah, yeah, and maybe a little unfair. Yeah. There's one of my main characters in the book is Cecil, and but Cecil when he talks. In fact, you're in Las Vegas, aren't you?
Yeah.
So Jack DeGolia is there. I don't know if you've heard of Jack, but he does the narration for the audio version of the book. And if you don't do anything else, you should hear the Jack using Cecil's voice. I mean, because he really hits it on the head. What I can say in 30 seconds is going to take Cecil about 2 minutes to say, but he's sincere about it, and whatever happens upstairs with Cecil comes right out of his mouth. And I actually, at one point, I have the description of how Cecil, his family, and how he came about. And it's how he sees the world, sees life through his knothole to the world. And that's really how it is with a lot of those people. They have their own sense of vision, their own perspective, and that's how it is. And they usually have no aspiration to see the rest. It's fine right here in the mountain.
Well, that's great. So your book is called Beyond the Higher Ground. How long has it been out?
It came out last December, and I held off on marketing it at first because I had some editing I wanted to take care of, and then the COVID crisis hit. So we're pretty well cranking around, doing well right now, but it took us a little bit to get started.
Did the COVID thing, did that kind of screw up any book tours? Did you have any book tours?
Uh,
Booked?
you killed them all.
Killed them all. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the end of it. Yeah, you just we just had to stop it right at that point, and so I held off a little bit to see if things would change. It didn't. I hired Anthony Mora, and that's how we're promoting now. And we're doing a lot of interviews like this and so forth, and working with online services, and things are going well.
All right. Well, super. Well, my guest is Thomas Brigger. We do have to wrap this up. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
For the book, there's a website that has everything you want to know about the book and about me. It has our reviews in it. It has testimonials, and it has direct links on how to purchase the book. And all it's very simple. It's beyondthehigherground.com, all one word.
Beyondthehigherground.com. Okay, great. Well, thank you for coming on the show. Nice talking to you. Interesting stories. Best of luck with the book. I hope it does well.